ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यः च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. No problem. We have Loknath Go with us. He will read. So we are sharing where we paused. The process of quitting the body and getting another body in the material world is also organized. A man dies after it has been decided that from that form of what form of the body he will have in the next life. Higher authorities, not the living entity himself, make the decision. According to our activities in this life, we either rise or sink. This life is a preparation for the next life. This life is a preparation for the next life. If we can prepare, therefore, in this life to get promotion to the kingdom of God, then surely after quitting this mental body, will attain the spiritual body just like Lord's. You see here, Prabhupada is telling about according to our activities, whether we raise or sink, but depends on Lord also. Decision does not depend on ourselves. This talks about this information comes from Kapila, teachings of Lord Kapila in Bhagavatam. Karmana daiva netrena. Karmana is one thing. Daiva netrena jantuho deho vapate. So the jiva gets the body, next body. Means Lord's sanction is also there.
As explained before, there are different kinds of transcendentalists: the Brahmavadi, Paramatmavadi, and the devotee. And as mentioned in the Brahmajyoti, spiritual sky, there are innumerable spiritual planets. The number of these planets is far, far greater than all of the planets of the material world. This material world has been approximated as only 1/4 of the creation. Ekamsena Sthito Jagat. In this material segment, there are millions and billions of universes with trillions of planets and suns and stars and moons. But this whole material creation is only a fragment of the total creation. Most of the creation is in the spiritual sky. One who decides to merge into the existence of the Supreme Brahman is at once transformed to the Brahmajyoti of the Supreme Lord and thus attains the spiritual sky. The devotee who wants to enjoy the association of the Lord enters into the Vaikuntha planets, which are innumerable, and the Supreme Lord, by his previous expansions, as Narayana, with 4 hands and with different names like Pradyumna, Viruddha, and Govinda associates with him there. Therefore, at the end of the life, the transcendentalists think either of the Brahmajyoti, the Paramatma, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. In all cases, they enter into the spiritual sky, but only the devotee, or he who is in personal touch with the Supreme Lord, enters into the Vaikuntha planets or the Goloka Vrindavan planet. The Lord further adds that of this, there is no doubt. This must be believed firmly. We should not reject that which does not tally with our imagination. Our attitude should be that of Arjuna. I believe everything that you have said. Therefore, when the Lord says that at the time of death, whoever thinks of him as Brahman or Paramatma or as a personality of Godhead certainly enters into the spiritual sky. There is no doubt about it. There is no question of disbelief.
So, Sarvametat Ritam Manye Yanmam Vadashi Keshava. So, what does it mean? Whatever you are saying, I take it for granted, it is true. That's what Arjuna is saying to Krishna. Yanmam Vadashi Keshava. Whatever you are saying, I accept it as. So Krishna is also telling about spiritual world, as yesterday we were discussing about so many places where Krishna is mentioning about the spiritual world. Yadgatvan anivartande tadam param sthanam upaiti chadyam. All these references are there. So those who are transcendentalists, either Paramatma or Brahman, anything, they will enter the spiritual planet. Brahmajyoti are also no problem. Brahmavadis are not a problem. Mayavadis are difficult. No, they know the Supreme Lord is the is the source of Brahma Jyoti, but they are attracted to Brahman, Brahma Jyoti. So they are not impersonalists. They are impersonalists, but they are not Mayavadis. They are Brahmavadis. The Bhagavad Gita 8.6 also explains the general principle that makes it possible to enter the kingdom simply by thinking of the Supreme Lord at the time of death. Yamyam vabi smaran bhavam chayatyanjye kalevaram tam tamevaiti kaunteya sada tatbhava bhavita. What does it have being one remembers when he gets his present body in his next life, he will attain to that state without fail. Now, first we must understand the metal nature is a display of one of the energies of Supreme Lord. Vishnu Purana 6.7.61. The total energies of the Supreme Lord are delineated. Vishnu Shakti para prokta kshetra gnyathya tatha para avidya karma samnyanya tritiya shakti rishyate. So the Supreme Lord has diverse and innumerable energies which are beyond our conception. However, great learned sages or liberated souls have studied these energies and have analyzed them into three parts. All these energies are Vishnu Shakti. That is to say that they are different potencies of the Lord Vishnu. The first energy is Para, transcendental. The living entities are also belong to a superior energy, is already being explained. Then the other energies or the metal energies are in the mode of ignorance. At the time of death, either we can remain in the inferior energy of this metal world, or we can transfer to the energy of the spiritual world. So the Bhagavad Gita 8.6 says, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyatyante kalevaram tam tamevaiti kaunteya sada tadbhava bhavita. Same verse is quoted again. Whatever state of being one remembers, when one quits his present body, in his next life, he will attain to the state without fail. So many more he's going to speak. This will read. In life, we are accustomed to thinking either in the metal or the spiritual energy. Now, how can we transfer our thoughts from the metal energy to spiritual energy? There are so many literatures which fill our thoughts with the metal energy, newspapers, magazines, novels, etc. Our thinking, which is now absorbed in these literatures, must be transferred to the Vedic literatures. The great sages, therefore, have written so many Vedic literatures, such as the Puranas. The Puranas are not imaginative. They are historical records. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 21-22, there are following verse. Maya mugdhera jivanahi swatah Krishna jnana jevera kripa kaile Krishna Veda Puran. So in order to give the mercy to the jiva, Krishna kaile Veda Puran. The forever living entities or conditioned souls have forgotten their relationship with the Supreme Lord. Yesterday we were discussing about this. And they are engrossed in thinking the metal activities just to transfer their thinking for the spiritual sky. Krishna, the Vayapayana Vyasa, has given a great number of Vedic literatures. First, he divided the Veda into 4. Then he explained them in the Puranas, and the less capable person, he wrote Mahabharata. In the Mahabharata, they are given Bhagavad Gita. Then all the Vedic literature is summarized in Vedanta Sutra. And for future guidance, they have given natural commentation of Vedanta Sutra called Srimad Bhagavatam. To always engage our minds in reading these Vedic literatures. Just as materialists engage in their minds in reading newspapers, magazines, and so many materialistic literatures, we must transfer our reading to these supreme literatures. These literatures which are given by Vyasadeva. In that way, it will be possible for us to remember the Supreme Lord at the time of death. That is the only way suggested by the Lord. And he guarantees the result, there is no doubt. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanasparidhyachava. Mayarpita manobuddhar mameva ishyasi. Imam eva means certainly. Aishyasi means it surely will come. Asham shayaha, there is no doubt in that. Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna, and at the same time continue your prescribed duty of fighting. With your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. This is what is spoken in 8.7. Yes.
He does not advise Arjuna simply to remember him and give up his occupation. No, the Lord never suggests anything impractical. In this material world, in order to maintain the body, one has to work. Human society is divided, according to work, into 4 divisions of social order: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. The Brahmana class or intelligent class is working in one way. The Kshatriya or administrative class is working in another way. and the mercantile class and the laborers are all tending to their specific duties. In the human society, whether one is a laborer, merchant, administrator, or farmer, or even if one belongs to the highest class and is a literary man, a scientist, or a theologian, he has to work in order to maintain his existence. The Lord therefore tells Arjuna that he need not give up his occupation, but while he is engaged in his occupation, he should remember Krishna, Nam Anusmara. If he doesn't practice remembering Krishna while he is struggling for existence, then it will not be possible for him to remember Krishna at the time of death. Lord Chaitanya also advises this. He says, Karmana Kirtaniya Sadahar. One should practice chanting the names of Lord always. The names of the Lord, the names of the Lord and the Lord are not different. So Lord Krishna's instruction to Arjuna to remember me and Lord Chaitanya's injunction to always chant the names of Lord Krishna are the same instruction. There is no difference between reference and the referent. Therefore, we have to practice remembering the Lord always, 24 hours a day, by chanting his names and molding our life's activities in such a way that we can remember him always.
So, remembering Krishna is not an option. Remembering Krishna is a compulsion. So, Krishna is also telling Mamanasparyadecha, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is telling Kirtaniya Sadahari. So, there is no difference. Because the same Lord has come to give the same teachings, personally practice. So, Lord Krishna told it in a theory, Lord Chaitanya gave it in a practice. How is it possible? Acharyas give the following example. If a married woman is attached to another man, or if a man has attachment for a woman other than his wife, then attachment to is to be considered very strong. One with such an attachment is always thinking of the loved one. The wife is thinking of her lover, is always thinking of meeting him, even while she is carrying out her household chores. In fact, she carries out her household work even more carefully, so her husband will not suspect her attachment. Similarly, we should always remember the Supreme Lover, Sri Krishna, at the same time perform our material duties very nicely. A strong sense of love is required here. If we have a strong sense of love for the Supreme Lord, then we can discharge our duty, at the same time remember him. But we have to develop the sense of love. Arjuna, for instance, was always thinking of Krishna, was constant companion of Krishna. And at the same time, he was a warrior. He did not advise him to give up the fighting and go to forest to meditate. Now delineates the yoga system to Arjuna. Arjuna says the practice of yoga system is impossible for him. Arjuna vacha jomam yogastvaya proktaha samyena madhusudana etasyaham na pashyami chanchalatvat sthitam stiram. Arjuna said, O Madhusudana, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable to me. For the mind is restless and unsteady. Lord says, Yoginam api sarvesham madgatena antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yuktatamo mata. Of all yogis, the one with great faith, who always abides me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendent loving service unto me, he is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion. So, one who thinks of the Supreme Lord always is the greatest yogi, the supermost jnani, and the greatest devotee at the same time. The Lord further tells Arjuna that as a Kshatriya, he cannot give up fighting. But if Arjuna fights remembering Krishna, then he will be able to remember Krishna at the time of death. But one must be completely surrendered, transcendent loving service to Lord. So how to remember him? It's not the way to give up. The Vedic literatures don't talk about that. The detachment externally. So the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also gives the same formula. When Raghunath Das Goswami is supposed to wanted to join full time with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu doesn't say that no, you come and join me. He says, externally you work with your family, and internally you always remember me. Give the same example Prabhupada is mentioning here. When a man loves another woman, or married woman loves another man, the attachment is very strong. With that attachment, one carries out the chores of the activities very nicely. So our duties we need to perform. At the same time, we need to remember Krishna. That's the point.
naturally, but with our mind and intelligence. So if the intelligence and the mind are always engaged in the thought of the Supreme Lord, then naturally the senses are also engaged in his service. Superficially, at least the activities of sense remain the same, but the consciousness is changing. The Bhagavad Gita teaches one how to observe the mind and intelligence in the thought of the Lord. Such absorption will enable one to transfer himself to the kingdom of the Lord. If the mind is engaged in Krishna's service, then the senses are automatically engaged in his service. This is the art, and this is also the secret of Bhagavad Gita. Total absorption in the thought of Sri Krishna. Modern man has struggled very hard to reach the moon, but he has not tried very hard to elevate himself spiritually. If one has 50 years of life ahead of him, he should engage at brief time in cultivating this practice of remembering the Supreme Personality of God. This practice is the devotional process. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Bhada Sevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakyam Atmanivedanam. These 9 process, of which the easiest is Shravanam, hearing the Bhagavad Gita from the realized person, will turn one to the thought of Supreme Being. This will lead to remembering the Supreme Lord and will enable one, upon leaving the body, to attain a spiritual body which is just fit for association with the Supreme Lord. The Lord further says, Abhyasa Yoga Yuktena Chetasana Nagamina Paramam Purusham Divyam Yanti Parthan Chintayan. He who meditates on me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me and deviated from the path. Oh Arjuna, is sure to reach me. This is not a very difficult process. However, one must learn it from an experienced person. Tad vijnanartham sagurum eva vivachet. One must approach a person who is already in the practice. The mind is always flying to this and that, but one must practice concentrating the mind always on the form of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna or on the sound of his name. The mind is naturally restless, going hither and thither, but it can rest in the sound vibration of Krishna. One must thus meditate on Paramam Purusham, the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the spiritual kingdom, the spiritual sky, and thus attain him. The ways and the means for ultimate realization, ultimate attainment are stated in the Bhagavad Gita, and the doors of this knowledge are open for everyone. No one is bad out. All class of men can approach Lord Krishna by thinking of him, for hearing and thinking of him is possible for everyone. The Lord further says, Mamhi Partha Vyapastriya Prashitya Epishu Papayonaya Striyo Vaishas Tata Shudras Tepiyanti Paramam Mam Param Gatim Kim Punar Brahmana Punya Bhakta Rajashrayas Tata Anityam Asukam Lokam Imam Prapya Bhajaswamam. Thus the Lord says that even a merchant, a fallen woman or a laborer or even human beings in the lowest status of life can attain the Supreme. One does not need highly developed intelligence. The point is that anyone who accepts the principle of Bhakti Yoga and accepts the Supreme Lord as the summum bonum of life has the highest target, the ultimate goal. And make a permanent solution to all the problems of life. This is the sum.
Prabhupada is quoting many examples where all Krishna tells about how to attain him is easier. So remembering him is most important, and we have to attain to him. How we will attain? By continuously remembering him, by we are supposed to remember him while working, because one has to develop that attachment to Krishna by reading literatures. Is what is spoken. So that's what we are doing now. At least some part of the day, we always keep ourselves for reading literature, Vedic literatures, without fail. Then slowly, by understanding the Shastra Jnana, we will attain surely the remembrance of Krishna slowly but steadily. Hare Krishna. Any questions, Swami?
No problem.
Okay. Hare Krishna. We'll meet again tomorrow. Shri Prabhupada ki jai.